I'll be moderating this panel, and we're going to be talking about privacy and starting private and how hard it is to keep that in that way. So I wanted to ask you, how was your privacy road? Why did you started being private by mistake? Did you, for example, that was my case. I started being private by mistake. It was not really fully intended, and then I learned the good parts of being private, and then I shielded myself. No, and I would like to know your journey into privacy. It was something you knew already when you started, or how it was?
So yeah, I can start with this. The biggest thing for me is privacy is a human right, and whenever even in places like this, like I wouldn't be wearing mask if there weren't that many cameras recording, because it's not about people present, but it's about people that are not present, and then the fact that this information is forever. So whatever I think about privacy and my approach to being in public places, it's all about preserving some of the data that's mine. And that's really my approach. As to like whether it happened by mistake or definitely my mom pushed me out of her womb and called me Rockstar, and now I I came out with identity, and it wasn't first of my identities, like online identities, and it wasn't nowhere where it is now. I worked on it gradually. So I don't know. Eventually, I may even, grow hair. We will see. But yeah, it's something that you work on, and I'm glad to go into more details, as this panel goes on.
Hodlonaut.
Yeah, I guess I never had any idea that anyone would ever be interested in finding out who I was. I never had any desire to be recognized or known, so it was very natural for me to operate pseudonymously in Bitcoin. And I mean, I think it was mainly motivated by, I enjoy my privacy. I don't have any desire to have my private life exposed to anyone. And but the value of privacy has definitely, become much more apparent to me over the last 5 years. And what has happened, like my personal story these last 5 years, it quickly became apparent to my enemies that my privacy was very valuable to me, and it's kind of been lost, but I still, as Rockstar says, since the fact that there are cameras here is the main reason that I choose to this thing right now. Yeah, so yeah, that's the gist of it, I think.
Our special guest is Reckless Satoshi, creator of RoboSats. What about you? What about your journey?
I didn't start as pseudonymous by chance. I actually was influenced by someone called Lunaticoin, who some people might know him. Actually, he put a few very bad ideas for me. I think I learned by someone else already how valuable privacy was, so I started already, knowing the good steps. I think it's, of course, impossible to have perfect privacy. I think in the description of this panel says, is it possible to live under perfect OPSEC? And I think, well, only when you die you get to have perfect OPSEC, but you are alive, you are going to do stuff that gives away your identity.
But I'm interested because I know a little bit more of your story, and I believe that for you privacy was like a very, very important thing from the beginning. So I believe that you took measures from the very beginning to protect yourself. Is that true?
Sure.
Was it the same with you? Or, for example, in my case, as I said, it was a little bit by mistake. I had a company and I wanted to separate my Twitter persona from the CEO persona.
Business persona.
Yeah, exactly. And then I realized that, as Hodlonaut was saying, yeah, this is good. This feels good, but of course I did a lot of mistakes. And of course, maybe I sign up in some services using my phone number, and I was not fully prepared for that. Was it your case? So were you more like reckless, or were you more like me?
No, I mean, people never do this perfectly the first time. I mean, that's really something that everyone who is considering shielding their private identity needs to realize is you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and then it's okay. You can kill off that identity and do another iteration and another iteration, or you you can keep living with that identity as long as there is a purpose. Because privacy, really, the way that I see it, it will be something that will be most valuable for any of us. You look at the current world we live in, and it's absolute disaster. Like, if you're in US and you apply for any job, they're not just asking for your resume. They're running background checks. They're sending you to drug tests. They're running, credit scores, stuff like that. Like, that's not how you treat humans. That's not how you treat, other people in a decent way. But that's like normal. And I understand the other approach as well, because people, like, our default is you're not with mask. You're, interacting with someone with your, legal name. And then there is a person on the other side who has a mask, who is not using their legal name. It's asymmetric. But I definitely think with the way that the world is today, it will move more towards being structured in this way, in a private way. Because, again, information wants to be free, as cypherpunks say. And that's what you're experiencing when you try to separate the identities and you, like, the reuse, and that there are these connections that pop up. Like, world is, information is being generated so fast. World is so mad. You're just going to get hurt by some information that you generated like 20 years ago. You said something, and now your enemies are taking that piece of information, twisting the context, because it's so easy to make the connection. And, like, I just think people will start feeling more and more and more pain, and they will see that that's the way to go. Like, privacy I hope we won't live in a world where privacy is something that only super rich can afford. That, like, it's something that the more people have privacy, the better the world will be in which we live.
I believe that the moment that we're using these things, it's kind of like an impossible thing.
Yeah, that's a great example, because, Google, don't be evil and whatnot, they collect tons of data by mistake. And then, they make so much profits off of your data that system is such, I don't know, European Union fines them, that money gets collected by governments. Like, it's a complete mess. And you need to figure out the ways to keep yourself safe and structure your life in a way that you want it structured. You want to control the information. You do not information to control you. Yeah.
Before asking you, Hodlonaut, I want to say that we're seeing how governments are going control freaks in anything we do. And related with Bitcoin, all this information that they are starting to ask in the UK is already going on, the travel rule, but it's going to be applying to Europe soon. All these excels of information, of data sheets from people buying Bitcoin that will end up going to public agencies that at some point will be hacked. This is just governments forcing companies to store this information and putting us citizens in danger. And we're seeing this in Sweden, where a lot of these records are public, and then people is connecting the dots, and some Bitcoin crypto influencers are being attacked because it was very easy to find where they live. So privacy is not something that weird people do, and people with the aluminum hat. No, privacy is starting to be a security thing, a security not for you but for your beloved ones. So I think that everybody should start understanding this. That this is not a crazy. This is not just 4 crazy guys that are covering themselves. This should be, I think, at some point it will be the norm.
I mean, we could still be crazy, right?
Yeah, that's true. What about, how was your? Were you making, or do you think? Of course, your story is a bit different because you basically were haunted. But even before that, were you so aware about privacy that you started as reckless, as good as you think you could have, or no?
Yeah, thinking back, like very far back also, I think I always had like an intuitive appreciation for privacy, and an intuitive, I never wanted to give away more information, or I never wanted to give away information that didn't seem necessary to give away. So from the very beginnings of the internet, and even on bulletin board systems, I always faked my name and wrote the wrong birth address because it just seemed counterintuitive to me to give out personal information when it didn't make sense to me why I should do it. But of course, when it comes to my own OPSEC, as I said, I mean, it was very obvious to me that I should use a pseudonym when I made a presence in Bitcoin. But you have to keep in mind that I never aspired to be a big account. I didn't have an ambition with it. I was a really small account. So my OPSEC was far from perfect. It was probably decent, but the moment someone started pouring serious resources into finding me, it was inevitable that they would find me. So in hindsight, I could have done a lot of things differently, but considering, my former situation, I think I basically did what could have been expected of me.
One question I'm curious about: have you ever had somebody from outside Bitcoin reaching you, a friend, and say, "Hey, are you Rockstar? Are you the guy that is talking on podcast?" So have you had like a moment of, "Oh, fuck," like I'm exposed, like somebody recognized my voice,
Yeah, I blocked them all. Now, well, when you create identity, you really need to look at what are the credentials of that identity. Like if I don't know how much time we have to get technical, but every identity that you have, you need to go with, okay, this identity has its own email, this identity has its own phone number, and then you go beyond, because a lot of people make a mistake of reusing the phone for multiple identities, or they do not use work mode that you have on Google Pixel. So on one phone, you can have 2 identities. Because when you start doing that, that's where all that stickiness of, say, phone numbers, you enter the phone number in Telegram, and then all the people that you add find you through that. But again, it's something that you iterate towards, and I don't think it's a big deal for most people. The problem becomes when you get to Hodlonaut's level, and what he suffered through is terrible. But in the end, like, I think even having that identity helped you. And the biggest problem really and a paradox of privacy is that you need to be public to promote privacy. And this is, again, where masks come in, where other stuff, because you need to be able to participate in discourse that, relates to you. So again, like, I don't see any other way other than, preserve your privacy in ways that you find you're comfortable with. You make mistakes, okay, like fix the mistake, block a friend on a certain network, or kill off identity and try another iteration. It's really like, what is the purpose of that identity? And as long as identity is not created with malicious intent of scamming someone, hurting someone, but identity in my case was created to contribute on BTC Pay server and support Nicholas, retweet, submit to GitHub. Like, hey, I love it, and like I'll continue doing it. And if someone else doesn't love it, that's their right, and yeah, I accept it. But don't be too hard on yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add to that a little bit, because I think it's important to not fall for the fallacy that if you feel you can't do perfect privacy, then it's no point to even try. It's a little bit of a like parallel to people trying to get in shape, and then they they start working out and aim for like 7 times a week, and it doesn't work, and then they just end up eating all the cakes and doesn't work out at all. So yeah, it's like don't stop trying just because you can't do it perfectly. It's much better to have imperfect privacy than no privacy at all.
That's a great advice, man. Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to add on that, Reckless, but yeah, this was going to be my next question. It's also the main question of the panel. Like, can we aspire to something very close to perfect OPSEC?
No, I think we can't aspire to that, but as they pointed out, we should try to start, right? The most difficult part is starting to think about how you improve the privacy. Once you are a little bit into the mindset, you will sign up for a new app, and then you see, oh, they need my address. Actually, I don't think that's something they actually need, right? The moment you think about it, you start to be more private. You don't need to go all the way through, and probably you will never make it all the way through. But starting to think on that mindset, it's already 50% the way. Yeah.
But yeah, I actually think you can have perfect privacy as long as you're like super rich, because you can buy all the mail forwarding addresses, phone numbers. You can really get other people to do stuff for you. You'll just hire an assistant, and then that's the assistant in which name all your accounts are. But again, for me, perfection is not the goal. It's to raise awareness of privacy and how important it is, and how it can be a tool for other people to structure their life in a better way, exactly so that they're not pulled by their friends where, you're like, oh, my friend now sees I'm a Bitcoiner, so I'm part of this cult that's boiling the planet and, destroying it through buying Bitcoin. Like, it's just not the conversation you want to have with certain people, because it's super draining. You just can't sustain that level of connections. And then your situation becomes way more easier when you properly structure your private life, maybe your professional life. You're one person professionally, one person with your parents, you're one person when you're in your church. And all that, thanks to how rich and fast the world today is, like, I really believe will only survive if properly structured. So again, perfection is a good aim, but yeah, it's not something you should kill yourself over.
We're short in time, so we will be a little bit faster, and this is going to be the last question. Maybe we will have even 1 minute for question. It's kind of a double question. You can choose which one you want to answer. If you had to start over again, what would you do different? This would be option A. And option B is, which advice would you give to somebody who is listening here and is still not, or has a Twitter account maybe with his or her name and wants to start with a Nanon account, or wants to start to create content, something like that? What's the advice you would give them?
So first question, I would stay 100% in FOSS. Second question, join a project, like join a group and start a new identity dedicated to that group. Like, that's what I did with BTC Pay Server. And then everything becomes way more easier, because you need those initial connections and you need people that you trust. Like, at the end of the day, you will need to disclose your government first name, last name to some group of people. And if you join a project or a purpose, or you want to start contributing in FOSS, that's a great way to do it. Like fresh identity, buy a phone number, email, open a new account, and then go. And but yeah, maybe you end up like Hodlonaut with a bunch of followers, because for you, man, it was a purpose. Like, okay, like I also ended up with some followers, but it was because people followed my work and my journey, and BTC Pacer was a huge part of that. There's no way if I just created an account for my identity, like I could have gotten anywhere near.
Yeah, the first one, I don't know. I would probably do some things different, but I tend not to operate like that. I think, under the circumstances and where I was, I think I did well. And on the second one, when it comes to advice, first of all, don't get demoralized. Don't like think that it's too late, or I already gave away so much, I can just not stop caring. Don't go there. Do the small things, do the obvious things. It's so much better than doing nothing. Don't make it easy for them, basically.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I will do something different. I think looking back, you can always find here and there things to improve. But I think my becoming pseudonymous was a good step. It was pretty well done overall. However, I'd say that if you are using your full name, you want to create a new identity, just like Rockstar said. There are many communities. Maybe you can just join some Telegram groups, some Bitcoin groups in your city. Just start with a new nickname. It won't be weird because everyone there will be using stupid names anyway. So you will be just one more, and then you will fit right in. And from that point on, you just build your own, let's say, reputation once again. Of course, if you are a personality already, you will lose that. You have to detach yourself from everything you wear. Yep.
I would like to add something that I've been thinking lately. I was completely unseen, unknown, but bit by bit I was doing like a personal unboxing, so getting out, and now I'm only going with sunglasses and a hat, and it's crazy how when I'm not in front of cameras, as you were saying, I'm without it, but some people don't recognize me. So it's crazy the effect that this is the Superman effect, no? Just glasses, it changes all. And this I want to connect with that we think about pseudonyms with strange names, nicknames. No, I'm Lunaticoin. This is lunatic basically. This name, Rockstar, Hodlonaut, Reckless. But there is something like an anon set.
Methodel. Like you would never say it's in. Yeah.
Is his real name or not? So this is an idea for people that wants to find a pseudonym. Why not call yourself John whatever? And you just wear like a disguise object that you don't wear in your normal life. It can be a very good tool. It can be even like more private than acting like Reckless, for example, now. So
Thank you.
Yeah, just an idea. 3 privacy tools that you use daily that you can recommend.
I mean, I can recommend Cover Me for phone numbers. Then you need a specialized services that luckily there are now specialized services where if you need like Telegram accounts or like, those are good. I can tell you some of my favorites like privately because I don't want everyone using them and they're gonna wreck SIM numbers. Proton is pretty good for emails. If not, there is a Tutanota, and again the Google Pixel phone, really good if you wanna get started because you can have 2 identities on it, like personal and work. And I would really recommend you first set up work profile and install all the apps there, and you're going to have everything like separated nicely between like business and personal persona.
Somebody else, because we're out of time.
Tor browser, Graphene, Simplex chat if you want to take a look at it. Good app.
Simplex. Okay, so thank you. It was very nice.